Hello there, friends. I hope you are doing well. Welcome. I wanted to um, talk today about my next video in the series of Breaking the Spell. We're going to talk about the billionaire, the jab, and the spiritual hijack, right? How real concerns got hijacked by conspiracies in the name of freedom. And I don't want this to turn people away. Let's maybe step into this space with a little bit of curiosity. Okay. We're going to be talking about Bill Gates because he always seems to come up, right? Doesn't he? For good reason. I mean, the guy's a creep. He does some very creepy things. He's got a lot of money and he has a lot of power, and the way he uses it is many things. So let's dive into this. I remember coming across the whole Gates narrative, right? That he's like this evil sorcerer. I don't know what to say. I don't remember even. It's like so vague. It was so long ago. It was probably back in like 2015 or 2016. But I remember that I started to see these threads, these like very subtle but serious threads about Bill Gates' influence on global health. Went down many rabbit holes wanting to understand what the narrative was, in order for me to discern truth from false, right? What was true and what was not true. And that was just kind of my tool for discernment. What is true, what is false? And I didn't always get it right, and I had to revisit and refine and all those things. But I went down many rabbit holes because I wanted to discern the truth. I felt that was, and it's funny sitting here now, that was something that I was meant to do, that I felt called to do. And it's interesting that I'm breaking them down now, almost 10 years later. 10 years later, 2015, 2016. So yeah, a whole decade later. Would have had no idea we would be where we are. But so let's talk about the way philanthropy could shape entire systems behind the scenes, right? Because that's what we see with Gates. The way power can operate without transparency, right? Money. At the time, it hadn't grown into a conspiracy yet. I mean, I guess it was conspiratorial, but it was more of just Gates is evil, he's satanic, or whatever it may be. And I think at one point I had found out about his connection to Epstein, which was really creepy, that he had even gone to see him in jail, so there's all that too. But at the time it wasn't like this full-blown thing out there. It was just strange. It was concerning, and for me it was just something to kind of keep an eye on. And I was paying attention. Like so many of us in wellness and parenting circles, I was already walking that path of discernment, right? I had spent years learning how women's bodies, children's bodies, black, brown, disabled, and poor bodies were violated in the name of health. Eugenics, forced sterilization, pharmaceutical cover-ups, medical violence. And so when COVID hit and Bill Gates' name exploded across social media like a curse, I recognized the energy. I remembered back to that time when I was exploring it myself. But what came next caught me completely off guard because these things grew. These fields grew in numbers. At first, I thought we were all on the same page. We were asking good questions, right? About experimental tech, corporate influence, and the ethics of mandates. But it didn't stay there. Suddenly it was microchips and syringes, population control through vaccines, biblical prophecy and end times, secret white hats saving the world from biodigital enslavement. It stopped being about discernment. It became about something else entirely. The language of intuition, embodiment, and sovereignty got hijacked. It was using to push narratives that felt off, that felt hollow, that felt co-opted. But at the time I didn't really know how to speak to it. And so I froze. It was too much. I was overwhelmed. My body couldn't process and couldn't go from receiving to action, right? Feminine, masculine. It froze. It didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to respond to what was happening around me. As I watched people I loved fall under the spell, and I had no map for how to meet them, I didn't know. And so I stayed quiet for a while. So let's be clear, there were real concerns, right? Again, he's a creepy guy. His influence on global health policy is enormous. He's unelected, he's unaccountable. His foundation partners with big pharma, government agencies, other infrastructure. He promotes techno solutions that often centralize control. He's interested in surveillance, or he's invested in surveillance, digital IDs, biotech projects with massive implications for public life. These are valid critiques, and people who noticed early were right to be wary. But what followed wasn't awakening, it was collapse. The truth got buried under New World Order panic, anti-vax absolutism, globalist field porn laced with anti-Semitic dog whistles, social media prophets, binary choices, or obey or reject everything. That's a big one. That was a huge one. And just like with Epstein, our instincts got hijacked. We were told if you question anything, you must believe everything. There was no space for complexity, only allegiance. And that's where the sovereignty trap came in. For those of us who value embodiment, inner wisdom, intuition, sovereignty is sacred. But during the pandemic, it became a recruiting tool used to justify selfishness, promote libertarian far-right ideologies, and mask paranoia as awakening. It looked like empowerment. It sounded like awakening, but it wasn't. It was a hijack. And it was spread by wellness influencers, spiritual brands, algorithmic amplification, and a whole digital tide we weren't prepared for. I wasn't ready to name it. I didn't quite understand it fully, and I didn't want to lose people. I didn't want to be mocked. I didn't want to be cast out, wherever you were in the midst of it. But now I'm ready, right? So this was not just about Gates. This wasn't just about COVID. It was about a much larger pattern, a spiritual hijack that feeds on disorientation, that masquerades as truth, that splits communities and hollows out movements. I'm not here to shame anyone who got pulled in. I get it. I do. But if you're ready to reclaim your discernment, not from the mainstream, not from influencers, not from the confusion itself, but from the confusion itself, then I'm with you. This is part 2 in a series called Breaking the Spell. It's about how truths get twisted, how fear hijacks intuition, and how we find our way back. We don't need saviors. We don't need prophecy. We don't need billionaires. We do need each other. We do need truth. And we do need the courage to say, I see it now. So let's break the space together. Let's reclaim our discernment. I'd love to hear, in the comments section, how you experience this, where you are now, how you are with it. Definitely want to hear from people, so please feel free to share, subscribe, like, join the conversation. Let's talk about it, and check out my Substack article below if you want to read more, if you want to read deeper into it. It's time. Until next time, toodaloo.